So Ofcom have approved more cost-cutting measures by the BBC. If they cut any more costs, there won't be any BBC left, will there? Hi, it's me again. And yet the BBC reckon they're struggling on their 3.7 billion quid a year. They've got a 300 million black hole, blah, blah, blah. We've said it all a million times on this channel. But when they want to make some changes, they do have to get approval for it. And Ofcom's recently done a report on the BBC, and they've talked about a few other bits. And then this popped up in my inbox today, and I thought it's something we could have a look at, because BBC want to change even more and give people even less value for their TV licence fees if you pay it, which sounds about right, doesn't it? Ofcom seeking views on proposed changes to BBC's operating licence requirements. The BBC's operating licence sets regulatory conditions designed to ensure that the BBC fulfils its mission and public purpose, that audiences across the UK are well served by the BBC, and that it provides distinctive output and services. Well, yeah, I mean, its output is distinctive. Give the BBC that. It's distinctive in that no one's watching it at the minute. Viewing figures are through the floor for BBC stuff, but stuff like ITV couldn't be getting more viewers if it tried, because it's trying new things and it's making stuff people actually want to watch. Know why it's doing that? It's because it's incentivized to make stuff people want to watch, because the more people to watch it, the more advertising revenue they make. BBC don't have that problem. Don't have to make good stuff. Do they? Anyway, that's a different rant for this one. So let's have a look at these conditions that the BBC have approached Ofcom about and to get changed. Let's have a look. The BBC has requested revisions to its operating licence to enable it to implement certain changes to its programming on BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Radio 2, and on its national and regional variations of BBC 1, BBC 2, known as opt-out services. Right, let's have a look. So they want to accept the request to reduce the quota for news and current affairs on Radio 5 Live from 75% to 70%. I thought Radio 5 Live was just news and current affairs. So you want to lower that. What are you going to have in its place then? I know they do the odd bit of sport, don't they, on Radio 5 Live? I'm not a listener really, but I thought it was about news and current affairs. So how can you take it down from 75? I don't know. But that's what they want to do. This would allow the BBC to broadcast some additional sports content. Evidence suggests this would help extend its reach among younger people and those from lower socio-economic groups. They are obsessed at the minute, obsessed with reaching younger people and people from lower socio-economic groups. They're obsessed with it. Reject the request to remove the quota for live music on BBC Radio 2. Live music is a key element of the distinctiveness of Radio 2, which is important to safeguard with quotas. We propose instead to amend the quota to exclude repeats and apply only to genuinely live or new specially recorded music. Well, they're hemorrhaging listeners at the minute as well, because they made a lot of changes, didn't they, this year to Radio 2, and paid a few people off with the presenter changes, and they are hemorrhaging listeners. More than any other radio station in the country, Radio 2 has lost a lot of listeners. Now, they've got to do something. It's live music. Do people listen to Radio 2 for live music? I can't say I ever listened to the main BBC stations like Radio 1, Radio 2, things like that. I've never really listened to them. But yeah, do you want to watch? Do you want to listen to live music on Radio 2? I don't know. I like a bit of live music, but if I was gonna enjoy it, I'd find my favourite artist, type it into YouTube with the word live, and enjoy it that way. At least I can see it then. Well, that doesn't help you if you're driving, I suppose. Accept the request to reduce certain quotas for news and non-news programming on the opt-out services. These proposed changes would be, among other things, to enable the BBC to increase its investment in online news. Yeah, they're changing loads of news output. They're going to change BBC News completely. And now they want to have less news on the normal channels and stuff like that, to put it all online. BBC are obsessed with going fully online. I don't know why. I don't know why. Under its digital-first strategy, the BBC is aiming to modernise its delivery of news and current affairs for local things, because it really wants to stop doing so much local news. They really want to cut back on that. And that was one of the defences people have for the licence fee. And Ofcom aren't too happy about it here. So I'll copy and paste this, I think, or I'll find it. It's on an email, but I'll try and find the proper press release thing. Have a look, because Ofcom aren't too happy with the BBC at the minute. They've said loads of changes they want to see made. There's a huge report that came out recently. But I think it's interesting that the BBC have to go to them for changes, whereas the BBC made its own money wouldn't have to worry about that, would it? But it does give them an excuse. They could say, well, we couldn't do this because Ofcom said we can't do it. I don't know. The licence fee holds the BBC back. It just massively holds it back, and it's got to go. It needs to go. So what do you think about this then? Do you think reducing news and current affairs down on Radio 5 Live is a good idea? Do you think what they've said about rejecting the live music thing? I don't know. I find it interesting that they go through Ofcom for all these things because they have a public remit for the licence fee, and I don't see how they're fulfilling that remit at the minute. I really, really don't. But let me know what you think about it all down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully, I'll see you in another video again soon. Ta-da.